How do you see the role? The role obviously is legislative. I mean, that's fairly obvious. The role is to develop laws and policies for the state of Kansas. The role is to develop a budget for the state of Kansas to operate within. The role is to provide for education for the state of Kansas. As far as communication, there's a number of ways to communicate. Obviously via the internet, email, phone calls, in person, district meetings. There's a lot of different ways to communicate with the constituents, including when they come to Topeka, to be able to communicate with them in the office. As has already been stated, the number one issue is going to be balancing the budget, and that may be the number two and number three also. Balancing the budget is going to be a very difficult challenge this year. It's always been, for years in the past, that's always on this bill is always the one that is the last thing that's adopted. But this year is going to be even more difficult trying to come up with that, because as has already been stated, there's going to be a deficit, projected deficit of at least $200 million, and some are saying even higher, perhaps even $300 million. Try to bring that under control. That's going to be a challenge. That will be the number one challenge. As far as other things that need to be dealt with is economic development. It's already been talked about several times, but economic development is very important, because I believe that ultimately we must have the ability to generate more income via taxes, but that don't want to do that via raising taxes. On the contrary, I believe it ought to be dealt with from the other direction, and consequently I believe that will also be via career and technical education. And I think that we'll probably get to that. I want to be able to talk to that, even nothing else in just the wrap-up session, because I believe that will give an opportunity for more economic development. And then also energy availability and cost is a big deal, and I think that needs to be developed, going to be part of the problem of developing that in the legislature this year. Not in favor of government-sponsored health care, period. I believe that it is a problem. I think that you can look to the things that have been done even over the last couple of weeks, where the government has been very involved in the financial situation, and it's done nothing but get aggravated and cause a bigger problem. I'm much more a proponent of the free market. Get the government out. I believe if we open that up and allow the free market, I believe that the free market will be able to do that, including opening up the options on policies. Right now, it is difficult to get specific policies, and there are some people that say, I really want to have this particular coverage, or I don't want this coverage, and so forth. And I believe that it is going, if we would allow that to open up, to free that up, to allow more insurance companies the opportunity to do business in Kansas, I believe that would help improve health care in the state of Kansas. I would say that the state of the economy is fair. It has been a challenge for that, because we have been spending far more than we have been taking in. And anytime you spend, as a family, as a business, anytime you spend more than you bring in, you're going to have a problem with your balance sheet. And that's what we're experiencing right now. We're going to be having, and it's going to be continuing to have a problem with the balance sheet. Our debt is per capita is the second highest of any of the 50 states. The rate of growth of debt is the second highest. You just can't endure that. Nobody can endure that faster growth, particularly when the rate of income increase per capita is the 30th highest. Our income is not keeping up with our debt, and that's a real challenge. That's a problem. Fortunately, we've had some good things going on. Number one is that we have had a pretty good aircraft industry, and the aircraft industry has been vibrant and been able to make lots of sales, and that's been helpful. And also the agriculture has been pretty good. Notably, it's helped a lot of farmers across the state, because of the price of commodities has gone up, and I think that that is going to be a good thing, but it's also long-term a little bit of a problem because the price of their inputs is going up, and it's going to be a problem there. Healthcare, it's a law. Anytime anybody goes to an emergency room, they are required to have health care given to them if they take any kind of subsidy, and public funds, I should say. And so it's required. Secondly, education also is required to educate any and all students within the borders of the state of Kansas. As far as jobs, I believe that the law also covers that. Unless there's proper documentation, employers should not be hiring them. And therefore, I am not in favor of illegal immigration because, and furthermore, it goes to the same thing as far as energy is concerned. And also, the immigration is that if we cannot control our borders, we have no ability to maintain our sovereignty as a nation. And if we don't maintain our sovereignty, we end up being losing everything. And that's what we're doing with the illegal immigration problem, as well as the energy problem, importing all the oil. And consequently, I believe that's a problem that needs to be solved. But as far as the education, we must, because it's a law, and also for the health care also. I think all forms of energy ought to be addressed. Traditional energies, coal, nuclear, I think that we ought to be doing it, moving forward on it. But also alternative energies in all forms, including solar and wind power. But as already been pointed out, they are not as reliable. We just don't have solar and wind all the time. Even as windy and as sunny as Kansas is, it's still sometimes a challenge. But if we can develop the traditional power plants, and then along with that, the concomitant transmission lines, that will absolutely allow the development and flourishing of the alternative energies. And I think it's a wonderful thing. But it's in addition to that, I would also add to solar and wind, which are already, although there's going to be an improvement in the technology of it, they're already existing technologies. But I believe we're on the verge of having some really great technologies developed in other energies, alternative energies also, including hydrogen. I think hydrogen is on the verge of a breakthrough. Do you have hydrogen-powered cars? I think that's on the verge of a breakthrough, and that's not going to occur this week, this month, next year, but I think it will be a real viable opportunity within the next couple of years. And also pyrolysis. I love the idea of pyrolysis, to be able to take those things that are normally waste and convert them back into their component parts and be able to get the carbon black out of tires and metal and so forth at a very efficient way of achieving that energy. No.